so that they have a house ready to move in when they leave wherever they're leaving.
What did you call it?
Permissive TDY.
What does it mean?
Sounds like you need pills for that.
What does that stand for?
TDY stands for temporary duty. The military, if you're being transferred, will give you a week to go house shopping, basically, without it counting against your leave/vacation time.
So I think it's a fact. Less people are looking during that period of time, but there are less agents working.
Yep.
The other
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is the people that are out there looking are serious.
Yeah, they're more
So there's
serious.
less tire kickers. So I think it's a great time to really get out there and work.
So that leads into our next section, which, like I wrote it out.
Before you go, let me just say one thing. If you're challenged to believe that business planning helps your first quarter for the next year, come to my office and sit down with me for 15 minutes. I will show you 3 years running where we've business planned in October and November, and our first quarter has been the best quarter of the year. Think about that. Everyone says the best time of the year is over
Mid-6.
the mid-6, right? My team's consistently for the last 3 years, the best quarter we've had has been the first quarter because we plan in October, November, and we start to put that plan into play before the year ends, and then January, February, March are our best quarter of the year.
Makes perfect sense to me when you say it like that. I'm going to go into the coaching program. For the coaching members that are in the program, it's a commitment from us that we will business plan you. So no, if you're in the program, that's going to happen anyway. But we've created a couple of levels to make this easier for everybody. So just to clarify, if you're brand new and you've never sold a house, you're in the mentorship program. And you're there for 5 transactions, 2 of them with the mentor, where the mentor is doing the deal and you're watching them. They're handling every piece of the paperwork with you. They're going through the entire process with you so that you as a brand new agent aren't just thrown to the wolves or to the coyotes currently in the marketplace. The second 3, or the remaining 3 transactions are done by you as the agent with the mentor overseeing them. But from that point, we had a lot of people that kind of were in that level of just floating around. They didn't have a lot of transactions going on. They maybe had a life change or a mindset change or an issue. So we created some amazing pods that you put together.
Yep.
Explain the pod system just so everyone gets it again.
So they're group calls once a week, 5 to 8 people, and we just work on business practices and putting systems in place. And we do it as a group. And the reason being is because we can learn from each other and we can grow together. And it'll speed up the learning process of putting the systems in place because you're learning from mistakes other people are making as well. Yep. So I'm excited to launch those. We've got our first group going to be launching next week. So I've got another pod set to go. I got about 4 more spots for that. So if you're interested, reach out to Chris or myself and let you get you involved.
And the best thing about the pod system is a lot of times when you're in that ambiguity of you don't know what to do or how to do it, but you've done deals, you've done 10 deals, but you're just kind of in a slump. That community feel can get your mindset where it needs to be because we all know how the business works. We know how to get it, we know how to close it, and it's just a question of us wanting to do it. And that's what I love about that community feel of it.
If you're struggling and you're sitting around in the office or you're talking to other people that are struggling, you're never going to get out of that hole. So you want to get around people that are pushing forward to grow.
Yep.
And that's how you're going to push forward.
Yeah, and from there we have our one-on-one sessions. So that's you one-on-one with a coach every single week. And to be in that section, you really should be doing maybe 1 deal every 2 months, at least 1 deal a month would be great. I think you get the most value from it. And we're going to show you how to go to 2, 3, 5, 6 deals a month at least to get you to that point of production of the next level. But that one-on-one, you need to have business in place to talk about how you're going to get your business to the next level. So that's kind of the way we've set that up for that benefit.
Okay, I want to say something about that too. If you were one of those few people that read your newsletter last week, Brandon called his group of 5 to 8 a little huddle. And so that's the word I used in this newsletter was huddle, but I like the word pod. The other thing I like about these
huddle.
pods, I can change
Huddle
it
in a
back
pod.
to huddle. We can huddle in the pod. Is that if you're a fairly not productive agent, I'm thinking back to when I was fairly new and who my manager was, I would be very apprehensive about sitting down one-on-one with my mentor, my broker, my coach. It would just really make me nervous. But if I had 5 to 8 people with me, that would give me all kinds of confidence.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah.
Exactly, and also peer pressure. So I think this is a really good thing.
Yeah, you also get, we also have a weekly coaching call, which is a big group that we put on, and that's with all the coaching clients and everything that we bring good stuff to. So you get that, plus you get a Facebook group that all that stuff in with coaching tips and all kinds of things like that.
So we have a number of coaches that are new coaches that have signed on that are seasoned professionals that do amazing business. You have some slots coming
Yep.
up in yours. And so I think the worst thing in the world is to do the same thing you've done, hoping for different results. That's the definition of insanity. And I think that I would not want to start 2021 with everything that's happened in 2020 without a plan to increase my business.
Right.
And if you don't have one, get one. And we will let you come in and kind of check it out. I'll sit down with anyone and kind of explain the program. I know Brandon will, if you want to check out one of the videos to find out what we're doing, we're happy to have you do that. But it makes sense because it's very simple to do our business. It's just not easy. And I think it's simple to sign on for coaching.
So just correct me if I'm wrong. So the coaching pod or huddle is for those who are just kind of putting their toe into the water of what coaching feels like.
Yeah.
And then if I'm doing business today but just need to up my game, do you say we go to the
One-on-one.
one-on-one?
Yeah.
Or do you try to
I probably
do
think
the
that
coaching?
if you're in a position where, like, let's say that last year you did 6 transactions, right? That's not horrible. That was a good income. Maybe there were 6 well-priced listings or well-priced buyers. Or let's say that you're working a ton of buyers and you hate life and you want to figure out how to work a ton of listings. You know, the pods would be a place to start and figure that out. But if you already have consistent buyers and sellers and you have a good business, but you just want to know how to explode it, then that's when you'd want to get on one-on-one sessions.
Well, we have 4 levels, really. We've got the apprenticeship, we've got the mentorship, which is kind of one-on-one with our sales managers.
Yep.
Then we've got the pods, and then we've got the coaching. And I think the best place to start is to set up a call or a conversation with one of us, and then we'll help you figure out which one might be best for you.
That's it. Most people ain't got nothing, so just do something. Raise your hand and say, I need some help. Let's
Well,
move on to... Well,
Coaching is about you learning things you don't already know,
Yeah.
right? It's we just don't know what we don't know.
Right.
or changing perspective.
And
Yeah.
coaching is about somebody else has a different perspective or a different way to do it, and then you can learn from that, and then you can decide if that's the way you want to go or not.
Yeah.
Just because you're in coaching doesn't mean you have to do everything the coach says, but you can take the things that the coach talks to you about, implement it in your business, and see how it goes.
The flexibility is cool too.
Yeah.
It's like if you start in the pod and we see that, hey, you need to move into, we'll
can
move you
move up.
into it. Or if you're with a coach and you're not clicking or that, we'll move you to somebody else.
So let's make that clear. So let's say that you sign on with Chris's coaching, and this will never happen, but you sign on with Chris's coaching, and you're like, I don't connect with Chris. I don't like his stories. I don't get what he's talking about. It's just a bad personality fit. We have so many other coaches that we're committed that once you sign up for the coaching, as long as it doesn't happen every week, you could move to Brandon's coaching or to Todd's coaching or to Janet's coaching or to whoever else, Shelly's coaching. We want to make that connection because if you don't trust your coach, you won't learn from them. And I think that's the point.
Yep.
You've always had a coach.
Yeah.
I've always had a coach. I still have coaches. You've always had a coach.
Yeah, pretty much.
Janet?
Not
Yeah.
24/7.
No?
I had a partner.
She tells
that-
you who to vote for.
I had a partner
She is
that
the
pushed
coach.
me.
Hey,
Well, that's the
do's
same
are
thing.
due.
Accountability setup. Let's talk about dues. So my next topic on here is that they just sent out billing for MLS, MLS service fees, and that's $300 for this next, is it 3 months?
6 months.
So number one, $300, right? Broken down, that's what, $50 a month for 6 months? So that's way cheaper than my cell phone plan.
Yes.
So I hope everyone can afford that.
It's cheaper than Salt Lake.
Yeah, cheaper than Salt Lake.
We have to pay that monthly. I think it's $55 a month.
So there's some changes with the
membership.
MLS. Tell us about that. Janet's on our MLS committee right now.
Okay,
Free
so
MLS.
first
Free
of
MLS.
all, if you're facing a hardship and you're still a little active, not real active, and you're like, God, this is going to be a real hardship for me, the $300, we can offer you a payment plan if you put it on a credit card of $50 a month to make your life easier, because otherwise it has to be paid for up front. So if that's your situation, please call Las Vegas Realtors and ask for the accounting department, and they will put you on a payment plan. Must go on a credit card. However, let me say this. If your credit card is declined or you miss a payment, there's going to be a $250 penalty to reinstate.
Be better off borrowing the money.
So I'm just throwing that out there. Also, another thing hitting today is the new upgraded Matrix 10.
Ooh.
I have not played with it. I have not seen it. I just know there are a lot of new features. There's map overlays. There are features for teams to use. There's also new selections instead of ER, UCS, whatever you're searching for. You can select all or hit a select all button or a select none button. But I think one of the big things is the map overlays you're going to get, kind of like Remind
But
has.
it's not a new system. It's just
No.
upgrades to the system we
And
have.
it has like a little facelift, so it may look strange at first, but just play with it. Still the same
We've
product.
been having some internet issues with the show. I'm going to blame it on the new system.
I don't
Okay.
think MLS has anything to
Hey,
do
stop it.
with our computer system.
Well,
So-
it does.
It does now.
So I think the point is that if this is your income source, you can't mess around with the source of income. So it's probably important that you prioritize your MLS fees and your dues over other things that you have. And I get it, but that's a pretty big part of your business, because if you can't access the MLS, you won't be able to buy or help someone sell something.
And I think if you're in that position where you're struggling with that payment, you need to come and have a conversation with us so we can get your business on track.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and another thing I want to say too, as long as we're talking about Las Vegas Realtors,
No
is
refunds.
No exchange.
yeah, there are no refunds. We do have a benevolent fund. If you are really, really facing a hardship, there's been COVID in your family, you're having problems making your house payment, paying utility bill, we have a huge chunk of money in that fund. And all you have to do is call Krista at Las Vegas Realtors, and she will send you an application. I believe the application is even on the website. And apply for that money, because it's available for those people who need it. And there is a committee, small little group, that will say, yes, this person's facing a real hardship. They will give you money. It's not a loan, it's not a payback. It is money to help you through. But if
But-
you're saying, my business was really bad and
yeah.
I can't pay my MLS dues, well, you're not getting
We had
a
someone
dime.
that said, I didn't sell a house this month, and so I'm applying for
It's a
some money.
hardship.
Yeah.
This
it-
is stuff
yeah.
that you've always, it's a recurring charge, right? So in the beginning
Yeah.
when you're business planning, you
It
know
actually
this is
went
an
up.
expense.
It
Oh.
went up. I think it was my year. We doubled MLS fees, but we had not changed them in 23 years. So for 23 years, they remained $300. I mean, it was the same for the entire year. And we doubled it to be $600 because we added a bunch of new pieces to the system, and so that we could add some additional
But
products.
you also disperse the payment so it's not.
Yeah, we changed how it was
One
billed.
lump sum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to say about that, as long as you're doing business planning, January 1st, actually late as of January 5th, you have your local, state, national
More
dues.
dues.
Yep, no refunds.
$640. You need to plan for that. Now, you're going to have to pay it in January. However, the best thing I personally have ever done is, years ago, I had a credit card on file, and then one time my MLS fees or something, I got a letter saying, you owe us $50, you haven't paid your extra $50, you haven't paid your fees, and I called them up irate and said, I have a credit card on file. Well, that credit card had expired like 5 months earlier, and I never called to give them my new number. And I never want to go through that again. I even said, I shouldn't have said this, but I did. I said, well, I'm on the board. Does that make a difference?
No.
No. Didn't make a bit of
But
difference.
we will use you as an example to other
So
people.
the best thing I've ever done is go on the smart layaway plan. You're going to have to pay your January dues or it's not going to work out. But if you go on that plan, and then they will just automatically every month prorate all the fees that you pay for the year, divide it by 12, and take that much out of your checking account every
It's
month.
like $90.
And mine's like 112.
Yeah, mine's like $90.
Because of all the late fees.
Yeah.
That was years ago. I haven't had a late fee since then. Never have a late
refund.
fee.
No
Never
refunds.
have to worry about when it's due. Get on the smart layaway plan.
That's exactly what it says on the pamphlet. I love it. Real quick, because this comes up a lot, we receive MLS fine notices. I want to clarify, it's not an immediate fine when something happens. They send you an email, and it says MLS fine, and then if you read below it, it says what you did wrong, and it says you have 5 days to correct it. If you blow away the 5 days, or 2 days now, you have 2 days to correct it. If you don't do it right, then they will fine you. But they're giving you the opportunity to fix that. It's also on the sign-in screen on MLS. If you go on the left-hand side on the hot sheets, you can actually see your own hot sheets. One that's a permanent sheet is your own MLS violations. So it's literally there when you sign on every day. So you shouldn't miss
That
it.
means I need to get through my email at least
Little bit
every
faster.
24 hours.
All right, let's talk about some transaction issues that we've seen in the brokerage that we need to give some clarification on. So a couple of times this week, I've actually reviewed some files, and in those files, I noticed that agents were using addendums to counter an offer instead of a counter offer. And so when should I use an addendum? When should I use a counter? And I know that V's sitting there saying, I did a broker insight on this, but let's, for our audience and our studio audience,
She
It's
also
also
said-
texting.
She also said, read the newsletter.
read the newsletter. No,
Because it's
Janet
in
said
there.
that, and no refunds. So I get an offer. Brandon, you send me an RPA, and I don't like 3 pieces. I don't like the
Wait.
price.
No. Your client doesn't like 3 pieces.
Yes.
Not you personally.
Absolutely true.
It's not about you, it's about your client.
That's the total point. Good
Okay.
point.
Good point. Ruin my story.
So
Killing me.
the price is $300. My client wants to make it $315. The close date is too soon. My client needs extra time to move, and they want us to pay closing costs of $3,000. The client said no. I'll give them $1,500. So I don't get an addendum. I don't go back to them and say, hey, I want you to rewrite the purchase agreement, because that's an insult to any agent that's writing it. I take a counter offer. I present the terms to my client. I put them in the counter offer, and I counter the buyer's agent, right?
Right.
Correct.
Let's talk about this. So I'm in a multiple offer situation, and the agent says, I'm sending highest and best to everybody. Send me your highest and best offer by 5 o'clock tomorrow. Now, in that instance, because I'm changing my offer before it's been countered or accepted, I could use an addendum to say, addendum 1, subject to this RPA, I'm changing the price to X. I'm changing my terms. That would make sense. But I don't use an addendum until after we've been accepted, right?
Yeah.
Everyone
Is there
clear
a
on
question
that?
in there?
I'm just making sure.
It's a black and white line, right? I mean, counters are before you have full acceptance. So if terms haven't been agreed upon, you use a counter. If you have terms that are agreed upon, and in for many agents, it's if you've opened escrow. Think about that. If we have agreement on everything and escrow is being opened,
Yep.
anything
Fully
after
executed in
that,
escrow's
Or
open.
another way to look at it, would be
Everything
if
after
you're
that.
changing the terms of your own offer, then
Yep.
you can use an addendum to
Yep.
the offer. If you're
Okay.
changing the terms of the other person, you need to counter it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yep.
I actually had an agent this week that we had a mentee that submitted an offer, and the other agent didn't like 2 things, and so he said just change the offer, because that agent actually didn't know how to write a counter, not with our company. And so he just kept saying change the offer, change the offer. Well, if I change the offer, I'm actually working against my own client, because no one's actually said I'm not going to accept that. I have no proof that the seller's actually said
well, the
I'm
truth
not gonna
is
accept
the
that.
agent didn't like those 2 terms and wanted them changed before they presented it to
Yep.
to their client. And that's not how this works. The client gets to make the decision. So please present my offer the way I have it written, and send me a counter offer back of anything that your seller will sign.
Let's talk about this too. So HGTV, it's you see the agent with the nice haircut and the Mercedes get on the phone and work out the whole deal over the phone, and then hope that everything comes together in the paperwork. Technically, that's a code of ethics violation, because nothing's in writing, right? And like Todd said before, I don't have the authority to negotiate on my client's behalf without their input and without them agreeing to these terms. So your client would have to be on board with the plan. And how do I know that they're on board with the plan? Do I have a text? Do I have an email? No, I should have a counter or something in writing saying we're okay with this.
Your other problem is when you don't get a rejection or a counter from the other agent, from the seller or the buyer, then you're the one telling your client no.
Yeah.
And they have no proof that you even presented it.
Yep.
It-
You know, and
it's a
so you
great way to
start
lose a client.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
start to build untrustworthy relationships between your client, and that's not a good thing.
Absolutely true. So if you have any questions on that, if you're out there writing an offer or a counter or anything there, all the brokers are here to help with that. And we want to make sure that you do it right the first way, right the first time. That wasn't
Or the
right.
first way.
It's,
Okay.
We got you.
So the other question that we've been getting a lot of is that we're seeing, because of the market being hot, because people have a ton of equity in their property, we're getting a lot of owner carry situations. And owner carry is a great way to finance a property with a seller that doesn't know what they're going to do with their equity. So Todd owns a house free and clear, $300,000 in equity. He wants to sell it to Brandon. Brandon's like, oh, well, I could buy this property, but I've already maxed out all the mortgages I can have with Shelly. And so Brandon's like, I'll buy it from you, owner carry. I'll give you $60,000 down. You'll carry the remaining $240,000 at, let's say, 4 or 5%. And sometimes we've even seen it as high as 10%. Where can you get 5% or 10% on $240,000? I mean, it's rare to find a place that you know is secured by
Well,
something tangible.
I think it's a great way to get something financed. The question always comes up, well, where do I learn what terms we need to settle on? Where can I see, Like, who helps me write the terms? Where do I get that? So
Yeah.
that's the question I always get is, what paperwork is there to help me do an owner will carry?
So Brandon's done a number of them. I've done a number of them. Todd has. I know Janet has seen them because they were like the whole market.
I did one.
in the 90s and
Two.
80s.
Well, one thing I want to say, the key thing you said, because you're right, I have all these agents coming out of the woodwork saying, my buyer wants to do an owner will carry, and we found this house we really like. The first
Do they-
question out of my mouth is, does the seller own the property free and clear? Because if they don't, you're not doing it. Period. End of story.
So every agent that comes to me says their client wants to do a rent to own.
Yeah.
And I always think we're talking about a refrigerator because I've never seen a rent to
TVs.
own on a house. You know, it's a
Yeah.
lease option or an owner will carry or something like
It's
that.
market speculation, right? So
Yeah.
there are options that you could purchase, and that's what you're buying. You're buying the price of the property right now, and we've seen the market trajectory increase every month. And so if last year I would have done an option, I probably would be exercising my option. But then if the market took a dip, like we saw in 2007, there are a lot of people with options, like $25,000, $50,000 options that never got exercised, and so that money just went away. But with great mortgage products that are out there, if you're that close, lease options just don't make sense in some cases. But I'd rather be in a lease option than paying someone else's rent, right? I mean, I'd like to have some form of ownership. There's ways to make that work.
Yeah,
And there's ways to get commissions. There's ways to cover closing costs. I like owner carry for land. I've had a lot of land clients that want to buy a piece of land and they have money to invest into it, but they just can't get the entire amount.
Right.
And there's no loans on land. Are you seeing loans on
We
land
are,
now?
yeah, now we are. So we've just recently closed one with a signature agent. So it
Really?
was 30% down. Rate was 5.875.
It's pretty good.
20-year term. But it was because she went for land first instead of like a full-blown construction loan because she wasn't ready for the construction piece of it yet.
Yep.
She had no idea what she was going to build. She just wanted this specific land. So closed in 30 days.
You know what the best part of owner carry is? Shelley, close your ears for this. Is I don't have to pay any of the closing fees that are associated, like some of those big costs. And so, in a lot of those ways, some high dollar products, I've had a lot of luxury buyers that because of their financials, they can't get a traditional loan, but they have income and they have good money and they have good credit. They just have maxed out. Owner carry works for that process.
And there's a
too.
lot of benefits to the seller at times. You know, it could be tax reasons why they don't want to take all that money up
Yep.
front. They might be able to get a higher price for their property because they're willing to carry it. Plus, they get the interest on it. So there's a lot of benefits on both sides. But the important thing here is if you're going to do it, or lease option or anything, have a conversation with one of us so we make sure it's done
Yeah.
properly. There is an addendum, finance
Finance
addendum in transaction desk. That helps cover a lot of stuff, but you're going to have questions on that, so we're here for you.
It's a good form, but you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
It asks a lot of
almost
questions.
Everybody has questions about this blank and that blank and this blank. So, yeah, there is an addendum there. Please get some help with it. Though.
I highly recommend also that if you're going to go into one of those situations, you prepare everybody to use a servicing company, because the problem is that at the end of the day, the number, I paid this and I should be getting this, and my numbers versus their numbers, when you have a servicing company in the middle, it makes everything easier and work well.
Yeah, they send out the statements, they send out the tax documents, they do it. They do
It's like
everything.
$10
for
a
you.
month for doing one loan. So one of the other things that came up in our pulpery conversation is contracts being done wrong. Meaning I created a listing agreement, I didn't fill it out correctly, I created an RPA and I didn't fill it out correctly, and I think what it comes down to is people are rushing, right? They're rushing through the documents, trying to get them out as fast as possible, and I hate to decline a signature on something, but I don't want you to look stupid in front of your client. I don't want it to be wrong so that you're upset when it comes back and rejected in our platform. So I know that I'm telling people, I know that both of you are telling people, and I know that you're also pointing out when things are incorrect, but we're doing it out of a place of love. But I've gotten a number of listing agreements on EA listings when they're not supposed to be, they're ER. I've had a number of ones where it says the commission is, co-op is 3%, and my commission is 3%, so that doesn't match. You just gave away all your money. And so we're making sure that we notice those things. And in the mediation section, when it says broker, that is not the agent, that is the broker of the office. And so you don't need to also initial in that section.
Well, the other thing is just pay attention to detail, because every once in a while I get a DocuSign or something that for Janet sent
Yeah.
to my email. So I'm not going to sign for Janet, and I've heard it going the other way too. So
I've
just,
gotten them for you, and I've declined them and said, you got to put my name there and not Brandon's.
But
and,
yeah, but sometimes they'll put it in the blank, but
Yeah.
then also sometimes they'll actually send Janet to my email,
Yeah.
and so it's
Probably about 50% of mine, they want me to sign your name.
So that's something else
I won't do it.
I want to address is because I personally am getting a lot of emails from another office. Please sign the commission order. Please sign this. Please sign my listing agreement. I'm also getting text messages going, please check your email. I sent you something to sign. Well, give me a chance. But here's the thing.
Give her another chance.
I can't sign for
No
Todd.
refund.
Todd can't sign for me. I can't sign for Chris. Whatever office you're in, that should be the person where your license hangs. That's the person you should send documents to for signatures. If you're in the Green Valley office, they should go to Todd Barton. If you're in the Summerlin office, they should go to Janet Carpenter. If you're in Southwest, they should
go to Brandon.
Chris
No,
Bishop.
I'm just kidding. They should go to me.
Send nothing to Brandon because you may never get it signed.
It goes to a vortex.
You'll get it
An
eventually.
autoresponder.
You'll get it.
The whole point is that we're doing this to be compliant with the division standards. That's why certain brokers can't sign certain division paperwork. And so the whole point is that we're trying to let you know, but be cognizant of it.
Well, I want to clarify though. The reason you don't get them back timely from me is a few reasons. Number one, you guys send them multiple times, but the other reason is I'm not always in front of my computer, and my eyes are going bad, and I can't really read the documents on my phone, so I'm not going to sign them until I'm in a place where I can do that.
Whoa! Not going to
my
sign them on that phone
doesn't
either.
work today. And so it's important that you do send them to somebody that has more access to the computer.
Yeah. And a commission order that you're sending over.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. We try to get it done right away within 24 hours, but you don't need to send it 6 times. I mean, let's be honest, your deal isn't closing today usually. If it is closing today and you forgot to get the commission order, which would be shocking, then that's when you would send a text saying, hey, this deal's closing in the next hour. I need this document immediately for that. This is urgent. That's what you would tell me. And then I would drop what I'm doing and try to get to it right away.
Wait, are you saying that when they send commission instructions via email, that they should not send a text in the next 13 seconds?
Not if it's not like,
Call you.
like give you a chance to respond. I think that's the whole point.
I agree. It's funny to me. I get an email and I'm in the middle of signing the email and the text slides down on my phone that says, I just sent you an email to sign my commission, and I'm in the middle of actually doing it. So yeah, give us a minute. We get our emails. We'll answer those quickly.
And with 600 agents, there's a lot.
Yeah, the other thing,
We have a lot of
though,
deals.
The other thing is, I know sometimes you feel pressed on getting things done, especially like on a listing agreement or a buyer-broker agreement. And sometimes it's because you're waiting for your client to sign it, but you put us to sign it first. So a quicker way to do that,
Do that
let
the other
your
way around.
client sign it first, so then it
Yeah.
comes to us, and then you're not pressed, and you get that listing.
And I'll
signed.
be honest, there have been ones that they came into my email. I have 500 emails probably in a day, and one got missed. And if you don't see it from me by the end of the day, then yeah, send me a follow-up reminder or resend it. I'm happy to go in there. I went on vacation, and I had a message on my email saying I'm out on vacation, and people just kept resending them, left and right. So they must have gotten a lot of notices back, but that will happen. And so just be cognizant of that.
And so here's the other thing too. All of us are on a lot of Zoom calls. I mean, I think I have more Zoom calls than I ever had meetings. And out of respect for the people that I'm on the Zoom call with, I will not look at my phone or sign anything during that time period. So please be patient. I'm not on it all day. And when I get off, I'll check my phone.
She's on there talking about the refund policies.
I'm gonna,
There's
Mitch,
no refund.
Mitch, we don't quite have 600 agents. That was a little bit of an exaggeration by Chris, but
We're close.
We're
Soon.
pushing.
So let's talk about the COVID addendum, because Shelley brought up a great point that we're seeing a lot of things where still, MGM laid off 18,000 people, not all here in Las Vegas, but we still have a number of issues where people are affected by the pandemic, all of us are, and they're entering into contracts right now. This month, last month, month before. And so people have asked, how do I use the COVID addendum? And yes, Fonda, we know you've done a broker insight on it. But the whole point is that we still have people questioning what's it for. So we've thrown out a big word, force majeure clause, which is an act of God clause. So meaning that if there was a fire, not a fire in your house, but like a forest fire, or there was a pandemic, or there was a flood, or a hurricane, or a tornado, any of those things would be considered an act of God. And if it causes you not to be able to close on the property, that's what this addendum protects. So if you're going into a transaction and your buyer's stable in their job and they're not in an industry that could be affected, and there's no issues that are labeled there from the seller or them, do they have to do one? No. But if you're going into one where your client's in a service industry that's been shut down before, and there's a concern, and you say to them, do you want to do this? You could create that addendum and use it but it's just not a random escape clause. You have to have real reason behind it for that to matter. And you've had a lot coming up with loan contingency on where do we put that?
I mean, I just have, I get that as a common question. And it used to just be an easy answer, 27 days, 25, 28 days, whatever. Now, because of their employment, you just never know, right? We're usually doing a verification of employment 3 days before. So when I made that comment about do it to the close of escrow, they're like, I'll just do the COVID addendum. So I was like, okay, do the COVID addendum, whatever that may be. So just bringing that to light, understanding what it is. I mean, not just service industry. I have a pilot today who is saying, my understanding is the first riff of layoffs for them is happening October 1st. I'm like, okay, are you okay? Because we're about to close on your house. You don't. And then how do you relay that message to the agents? Like, hey, he's a pilot, and he just mentioned that his organization has just told him that, they're about to lay off the lower 30%. And fortunately, he's top 25 in his mind, but he doesn't necessarily know, right? And so then that COVID addendum came back out again. So I didn't know anything about it, but
I think it's important to point out that COVID addendum covers both buyer and seller. I mean, it's not just in favor of the buyer; it's in favor of both parties. I mean, the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. I mean, what if a tree branch breaks off and breaks the roof of the house, and now the buyer doesn't want to buy the house? Seller can't sell the house because FHA won't finance a house that doesn't have. I mean, it covers both sides of the party, so it's not a bad thing. But I think you got to be smart when you use it. You don't use it every time.
I think the point comes back to communication. If I'm talking with my buyer and I hear these things from them and I don't say anything, or I don't find out more, or I don't ask the why behind the question, then I'm setting myself up for failure. And you can't take a COVID addendum after you've already been in contract and completed your due diligence and send it to the other party and think that they're just not going to notice and just sign it. I mean, it's not going to happen. If you sent one to me and I've completed my due diligence, I'm going to laugh at you.
I did it.
Yeah? Did it
Got
work?
so lucky. Yeah, they signed it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was months ago. We're going to close on Friday, I hope, on this deal because Shelly's going to fix it for us.
So what I'm hearing is it's worth a shot.
It's worth a
Give it a
shot.
shot, I guess.
But don't make that.
Don't
your
send it to
strategy.
me.
When I sent it, I knew they weren't going to sign it, and an hour later it came back signed, and I was like, wow.
Do you think it's
that's
because
awesome.
agents don't read things sometimes?
Oh, I think it had a lot to
could
do
be.
with that.
So that goes into our next point, and it comes to the same point. Okay, the deal is dying. The deal is dead. I can't save it. Shelly's tried. They lost their job. They have poor credit. They went out and spent all their money before closing, and now we're in an earnest money dispute. And I want to be clear about earnest money. The contract actually states exactly what's going to happen to the money in the event that the parties cancel. It literally has it in writing, and it's in writing for the fact that I'm going to go and defend it in front of a judge. Anyone here an attorney?
No.
Anyone here a judge?
Nope.
No, so I can't actually say what's going to happen. It's the contract that's going to say that. Now, it takes a while to go to court. It takes a while to get sued, right? I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. And so one of the things I notice a lot of times from agents is there's an ability to negotiate, right, wrong, or indifferent, that I could still do that between buyer and seller because both of them have to sign to release that money. And I see a lot of people just say, oh, the money's gone, right? Or they tell their buyer, yep, your money's gone. But that's not necessarily true. There is a value to expediency to that money. Now, I'm not saying stand in front of them. That's not your role as an agent. But the buyer and seller need to come to terms, and most people never communicate with them. Mr. Buyer, we're so sorry to hear that you lost your job. The sellers, lost time in marketing their home. They had to pay that extra mortgage payment. We've got $3,000 of your money. Do you want to try and see if they'll split the difference so we can get the money resolved today? That sounds like an accommodation that everyone could be on board with if they find out it could be 3 to 6 months to get their money. Wouldn't you agree?
But that's different than saying, don't sign that. Force them to go to mediation. You're going to get half.
Exactly.
It's a different.
Because you can't guarantee it.
No, you can't.
Well, that's the big problem is too many agents tell their clients what's going to happen. If they're past all their contingencies and you're going to get the money. Well, you don't know that. I mean, in today's world, whenever these court things start happening again, because they're not happening now, the judge might look at it and go, based on the pandemic, we're going to give the money back to the buyer.
Yeah.
And then you're really going to lose a client. So stop telling your clients what is going to happen and help them understand what could happen. And the best resolution for an AMD dispute, the best one is to get it resolved.
Yeah.
I don't care what the numbers look like, but somehow get it resolved so that
yeah.
it doesn't go to court.
Well, I notice a lot that agents take on to themselves that it's their fault the deal didn't close. It's oh my God, it didn't close. It's not going to close. My clients are going to be so upset. and they take it all onto themselves and they become emotional about it. And I get why, because you're caring, loving people that want to help your clients. But at the end of the day, if you didn't make the decision, you're not responsible for the outcome. But if you did make the decision, if you forced your client into a circumstance, if you're giving them advice that you can't guarantee, then you are responsible for that money.
So always give your client the facts necessary to make an educated decision. It's ultimately their decision.
In writing.
And if whatever they do, then you don't have to take responsibility for it because they made the decision.
And don't get emotional about the outcome. Don't call them up crying and saying this deal's going to cancel, because then it looks like you're guilty, right? I mean, I would think you're guilty. And so I like to confirm things in writing with my client. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I just want to let you know, because you lost your job, here are the circumstances that could happen. Here are 3 scenarios that we could do. Tell me in writing which one that you would like to go forward with. And if you have any questions on all of them, we can get you legal counsel. There's some pro bono groups out there that'll give pro bono legal aid. I mean, there's a number of things they could do.
Nice.
Well, so here's the other thing too. When I teach the RPA class, it says in the RPA, I think it's 6, maybe 7 times, in bold print, earnest money will immediately be refunded to buyer if whatever happens. About 6 times. But that's not in reality what happens. So every time I teach that class, I read that out loud and I tell them, title is not releasing any money unless both parties sign off on it. I don't care what it says. This was not written the right way. It was written for the judge if you ever go to court, but title will not release
Let's
it.
talk about that, because it's our last point for the
Got
meeting.
one more thing.
We got one
before we
more
wrap
point.
up.
But for that point, why isn't it immediately released? And it's a title issue. The title attorneys believe that they must have their own document executing both parties' mutual agreement before they will release it. And we've tried to legislate for that difference. We've tried to, use other litigation for that difference, and it's just the way it is. There are some title companies in their escrow instructions that will automatically release earnest money back to a buyer, regardless of the reason. And so make sure you're reading your escrow instructions.
So I'm licensed in another state too, and they handle things a little bit different. They actually use real estate broker trust accounts.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the opportunity to either put it in a broker trust account or the title account. And we do here too. It's just not customary, and
Yeah.
it's just more so we don't hold one so that we don't take them. But in that, the broker actually has the decision, and they can release it based on that contract. So can the title company. But the title company doesn't do it because they don't want to get sued, so
Sure.
they want both the things. But they won't, most offers won't be accepted in Utah if you say you're going to put it in the title company because of the lack of control of the earnest money.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
What was your last item?
Spirit of Signature Award.
Oh,
So we haven't announced it for 2 months, right? But July was,
I want to do July.
go ahead.
Katie Ramsey!
Yay!
All right, and then August was,
Is
is
Andy Bushman.
Annie Bushman.
Yay!
Congratulations. So, again, keep submitting your applications or it's not an application, it's your
nominations.
Your nominations
Nomination.
of people that you want to see as the agents of signature, and the Associate Council votes on that on a monthly basis. So,
well, that's awesome. Well, folks, that is our potpourri for this week. Congrats again to Katie and Annie on your win, and we're always here to help you in any way we can. I know all the brokers, we want to be as accessible as possible and still provide that same level of service to everybody. So if you have any issues we can help with, we're here for you. And with that, have a
It's a
great
wrap.
week.
we'll see you soon.
Yay. Bye.